Hello guys, TAFHD here and welcome back to another video, and today we're going to be taking a look at this computer. Now this is a Compaq Presario desktop, and if you've seen some of my videos before you may know that I own a Compaq Presario, specifically a Presario SR2000 with an AMD Athlon 64 in it. This is not that computer, and this is not an SR1000, this is an SR2000, and if we look at the stickers, this appears to be an Intel based one running Windows Vista. Now I don't know how true that is, I've never seen this machine before. I have been asked to see if I can give it a bit of a clean and see if I can get it running. I don't actually know if it works or what is wrong with it. I think it's just kind of slow, so we're going to see what we can do with that at some point, but today all I'm going to be doing is taking a look around this machine. It's probably quite similar to my SR1000, but today we're going to take a look at it and hopefully we're going to be able to boot it up and just take a quick look around it. So starting off on the front, it still has its original stickers on it. So at the top there we have a LightScribe disk drive in here, so that's pretty cool. Of course there's that sticker, which mine doesn't have. Mine had all its stickers peeled off it, but mine doesn't have a LightScribe drive in it, but this one does. It says LightScribe DVD Super Multi Drive / CD writer, and second bay, mine has a CD drive in it. This is just blank and it's marked as an expansion bay, and that sticker says Windows Vista Home Premium. I've not booted this up yet, so I don't know if that is true, but hopefully it is, because I've never actually used Vista before. I know it gets a lot of hate, but I've never given it a go, so I would quite like to. Moving down, this is something that mine doesn't have, and this is all of these card slots. So we've got quite a lot of different card types there, as well as an extra USB 2 port. Going down, it looks like we've got another expansion slot, so something could go there if you wanted to. Then a bit further we've got our audio in and outs, as well as 2 more USB 2.0s. Moving down, power button there. I've always liked the way that these buttons sound. That one feels quite a lot stiffer than mine. And I do believe this is a newer machine, being an SR2000, I'm guessing that's newer than an SR1000. And the fact it's running Vista would go along with that as well, because I think mine would have originally come with XP, although I got it with Windows 7 on it. Of course there we've got our Compaq branding, as well as the hard drive activity light, and of course, as I've already mentioned, we've got the sticker there for Vista, as well as the Intel one as well. So hopefully if we can get this booted up, we can see exactly what specs we are running. Okay, so let's move the machine around to the side. There we are, and there's not really much to see on the side here. There's a sticker up here saying that this is a SR2125 UK, and our product number and serial number are up there as well. I probably shouldn't show that, but whatever. On the side here is some Compaq branding that is indented, which is quite nice. Then down here we have our Windows Vista license, as well as a license for Microsoft Works. I've not heard of Microsoft Works for a long time, so that is pretty cool to see. On the other side, we don't have anything to really write home about. All we have is some vents for cooling. Now mine has a completely solid side panel, but this one has got 3 separate vented areas, just so this thing doesn't get too hot. But now let's take a look around the back at all the different ports. So starting at the top, we have the power supply. I'm not sure what wattage this is, probably something like a 250, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it'll be perfectly fine for a machine like this, I'm sure. Going down a bit, we have what I'm guessing is an 80mm fan as an exhaust. There is no intake fan on this. Over here we've got our PS2 keyboard and mouse. We have digital audio in and out, not really sure what that is for. I'm guessing some form of audio. I don't see that on motherboards very often, so that is quite cool to see. Moving down, we've got a blanking plate. I'm guessing that would be for onboard graphics if this thing didn't have a dedicated graphics card, but it does, and it is down there, but we'll get onto that in a second. When I first looked at this, I thought, what is that black thing there? but it looks like some sort of USB receiver, and it's just snapped and it's bent. I've not broken it. Oh, it's for Wi-Fi. It says Wi-Fi on it, which is quite cool. Not sure if that will focus. There, Wi-Fi AC. I've not snapped this. It was already snapped when I found it. But yeah, that's quite cool. Someone has been using Wi-Fi with this. Not exactly sure why it's bent, but it is, and I'll just put it back just as I found it. But if we zoom back in to take a look at the ports behind that Wi-Fi thing, there is 2 USB ports as well as a Firewire 400, although it's not branded as that on here. That is pretty much what it is. Beneath there we've got 2 more USBs. These are all 2.0 I believe. Then we've got our Ethernet as well. Then below that we've got all of our audio in and out. That is indeed a lot of audio. Mine doesn't have that many, but mine isn't as fancy as this one. There we've got a Compaq sticker, not really saying anything too fun. Then down below we have 4 expansion slots with only one of them occupied, and our graphics card is in there. We've got a DVI, a VGA and an S-Video. What are the specs of this card? I've got no idea, so that is something we can look at hopefully in Windows, but I am also going to take the side panel off and maybe that will give us some clues as well. Alright, so the side panel is now off, and one cool thing to note is that this is a screw that stays in there so you don't lose it. It kind of just wobbles about, but that's pretty cool. I'm not really sure that's a particularly exciting feature of a computer, but it is quite cool to see. So hopefully that screw never goes missing, but here we are. Here is the inside, so I'll move my light to hopefully make it a bit brighter. Then let's take a little look around this thing. Okay, so I've got a bit of a better lighting situation going on, still not great, so apologies for that. And everything kind of seems wonky because these machines don't sit straight, they sit wonky. They are higher at the front than at the back, so they're always leaning back, so it looks like I've got my tripod wonky, but I actually don't. It's perfectly level according to the spirit level on it. So yeah, you'll just have to bear with that. But here is the power supply. It's a light-on unit, and the output is 300 watts. I guess 250, but it's actually 300, so that's better than I expected. Still not a lot, but for this machine, that will be absolutely fine. If we look down there, we can see our CPU, fan and cooler. Doesn't look too dirty. Probably could do with a bit of a clean if this thing does work, and if it's going to be used for something, I'll give it a repaste, I'm guessing, as well. Our back fan there, which is set up to be an exhaust, I think, isn't actually plugged in, although that could have happened in transit, or maybe it's just not been plugged in for years, which wouldn't be great considering it's the only case fan in here. So I will just plug that back in now. I'm guessing it just goes there. There we are. I'll just make sure everything else is plugged in as well, because I wouldn't want the CPU fan to be loose or something like that. But yeah, it all looks to be fine. Now if we go down, we can see our graphics card there. So we can see that the final port on that, which is VGA, is not actually on the main board. It looks like this could use a low profile adapter to go in a smaller computer, maybe another HP or Compaq, because of course HP owns Compaq. So this card could be used in many machines, I am guessing. I'm not exactly sure what card this is. The stickers might mean something, although they don't really look to be like a model number. I'd rather just wait until we're in software to have a look. But it looks like an Asus card. Might be wrong, but it does kind of look like that. And it might actually say on the bottom. I've just put the computer on its side to hopefully get a bit of a better look, and I will go handheld for this. You can see the graphics card down there. It's got a nice little fan on it, which is nice because a lot of these older cards were just passively cooled. I can see with my eyes that it says Asus on it. Can't really see that with a camera. I can't really get the angle right. But underneath that graphics card we've got 3 PCI slots, and this is a funny coloured board. It kind of reminds me a bit of mustard, which is nice. But we do have a model on here. Sorry for this camera work, it's probably not very nice, but it says P5LP-LE. Not really sure what that means, or is that PS? Is it a 5 or an S? I don't know. I should probably Google that. So it looks like I was right with the first thing I said, and it is a 5. And looking around here, it looks like this is an Asus HP Compaq board, so kind of a collaboration. I thought it might be Asus related just because of the font on it. It reminded me of some old fonts I've seen on Asus boards before. So it would kind of make sense if the board and the graphics cards were both made by Asus. But looking over here at the prices of these boards, that one there, which is yellow, is very expensive. So there is quite a variation in price. Not exactly sure what specific model mine is, but I'm guessing we can find out when we turn it on, if it does turn on, because I'm still not sure. It looks like we've got 2 RAM sticks in there. There are 4 slots, the other 2 are open. Maybe there was more RAM in this at some point and it's been taken out, or maybe from the factory they just left the other ones open. I'm honestly not too sure. Let's take one of those sticks out just to see if there is a capacity on there. So this is a Hynix stick, and it is a 512 megabyte stick, so we've got 2 of those. So this computer has 1 gigabyte total. I'm sure for running Vista that's probably alright. It probably would be better with more, but let's say if I wanted to put Windows 10 on this or something, it definitely would struggle with only 1 gig. I don't even know if this would meet the requirements for Windows 10 anyway, but it is something that we can look into, because that might make it a bit more usable in the future if the owner wants to use this for anything, because I'm guessing Vista, trying to use that wouldn't be fun, but then putting a more modern OS on this old hardware, that probably wouldn't be fun either. But it's definitely something to think about. So I don't really think there's much else exciting to see in here. Our LightScribe drive is an IDE one, but our hard drive is indeed SATA based. If I put this computer upright, we can take a closer look at what model this drive is. I'm guessing the capacity is going to be something like 160 gigabytes. So nothing that's particularly modern or even that usable, because most things now do require more than that. Like, I'm not going to say this is going to be a gaming computer, but now if you were like going to install a few modern games, you'd need a lot more than that. But there's no chance that this thing is going to be running anything modern. But let's see what the specs are when we turn this on. There is actually another label on the bottom here. I don't really think that is saying anything too exciting, is it? No, that's not anything too fun, but yeah, let's take a look at what this hard drive is. So it's quite difficult to see in this lighting, but this is a Seagate drive, and I was right, it is 160 gigabytes. Whether this drive works, who knows, we're going to find out. It'll probably be really noisy and clicky, so that will be fun, but that is everything that there really is to see in this thing. So what I'm now going to do is put the side panel back on, plug in a keyboard, mouse and monitor, and let's just see what happens, if anything happens. Alright, so here we are. I've plugged the computer into my keyboard, mouse, monitor and power. It'll show up on the monitor up there. Once something comes up, if it does come up, I'll get a better angle of the monitor. But just while I turn this thing on for the first time, I thought it would be good to get a shot of the actual machine in case it blows up. At least I've then got it on camera, so that will be fun. So what I'm now going to do is turn on the power. That's now power to the computer and the monitor, and simply all we have to do is press the power button. And straight away it's coming up. There it is. Just while it's booting, I'll keep this angle, but once something actually comes up, which it is doing, not really sure what my monitor is playing at, but it looks like this is starting up, and that's not the Windows Vista startup, is it? That looks like the Windows 7 startup, although I'm probably wrong. No, this is running Windows 7. Wow. And it looks like it's adjusted correctly, and it's actually outputting 1080p. So this is cool. It's actually come on. I wasn't expecting it to output correctly at the native resolution given the crummy looking graphics card, but it's actually come on. It's not exactly lined up correctly on screen, so let's see if we can adjust that. It's not really something I want to mess with, it's not a big problem. But yeah, it's come on, it's running Windows 7. It says Vista on the sticker, but Windows 7, although definitely outdated, it's still a lot more usable than Windows Vista would be. Let me try wiggling my mouse. Yeah, that's working. What about my keyboard? Yeah, keyboard is working too. I can't really log in because I don't know the password, so I'm going to have to blur that out. But yeah, this thing has booted up. There's not really anything I can do without the password. I'll try and see if I can get it just so we can have another look at this. But yeah, that's like very screen teary, probably difficult to see because I record in 25 FPS. But yeah, that's not smooth. And looking at the window border, that is basic, so it doesn't look like it's capable of aero, but I'm not particularly surprised at that. This isn't a high-end machine. I'm going to try opening the LightScribe drive. Will that open? Seems like it's got a bit jammed. Yeah, the drive is jammed. That's not a big deal though. So yeah, this is cool. Alright, so what I've done is I've rebooted, pressed F10, and now we are in the BIOS. And this is cool. The CMOS battery is still functioning, so it knows the date and it's actually got the time pretty much correct. It's 3 minutes out, but the date is indeed correct. So that is cool. If we go down, we can see it's recognizing the hard drive, which is quite obvious because we did just boot up. The LightScribe drive is showing, although it doesn't seem to work. It seems like it's a bit jammed. Might be able to get that going by sticking a pin in the little hole, but that's not really important right now. Going down to memory, we can see we do have 1024 megabytes or 1 gigabyte. That is indeed two 512 sticks, and this is DDR2. It would be quite nice to stick some more RAM in this, but I'm not sure if I have any that will be compatible. And the BIOS version is from 2006. So this computer is 16 years old. It honestly doesn't seem like it. Like the fact that it's running Windows 7 natively at 1080p, that's actually quite cool. I was expecting it to be a bit newer than this. So that is actually very cool to see. Going over to advanced, we can see the processor in this thing. This is a Pentium D running at 2.8 gigahertz. Not exactly sure what model it is, it doesn't say. I don't know if Pentium D is just the model or whether there should be like a little model name after that. Not too sure, to be honest. All this isn't exactly relevant, so let's go over to the next tab. That's not relevant. That's not really relevant. And yeah, there's not really too much to see in here, but we can see that it does have a Pentium D and also 1 gig of RAM. This actually seems like a pretty nice little machine. So if I can get the password for this, then I'll have a bit of a fiddle around. I'm not going to show anything personal. Of course, I do need to respect privacy, but I'll just see what I can do. So for now, I'm going to have to just turn this thing off. I didn't make any changes, but yeah, whatever. So until I've got the password or whatever, this is just where I'm going to have to leave it. But this is pretty cool. It's not actually that slow. Let's just see how long it takes to boot up to the login screen. I won't cut this just so we can see. Starting Windows. Windows 7 was never particularly quick anyway because it always did this silly animation thing. But yeah, I don't think this is a slow computer, and the hard drive isn't actually making any weird noises. It's actually quite quiet, and there we are. This isn't slow. This actually boots up quicker than my main PC, just because the motherboard in that likes to double boot and then triple boot sometimes. But yeah, this is cool. I like this machine. So yeah, this is how I'm going to have to leave it for now. Okay, so it's been a few days and the owner of the computer has been around to change the password, and they've also changed the username. Now, I'm not really sure if I should show that or not, but I'm going to show it anyway. So yeah, that's fun. Let's see if I can remember what the new password is. It looks like I have indeed remembered what the password is, and fun fact, the password is password. Alright, so first thing we've got is Windows is not genuine. Your computer might be running a counterfeit copy of Windows. I'm guessing that's because it doesn't have a product key or something like that. But we can just skip all that and we should still get to the desktop. And yeah, the desktop has now loaded up. And would you look at that? It's got the scary backgrounds. I never really understood these backgrounds. I believe Microsoft paid a lot of money to have these commissioned, but I'm not a big fan. And it looks like we actually have aero going on. Let's go into personalized. Yeah, look at that. Somehow this graphics card is good enough to support aero. My SR1000 definitely couldn't. But look how beautiful those window borders are. That's really cool. Let's just put it back to the default. I always think that just looks best. And Windows 7 is such a pretty operating system, especially when displaying at its native resolution. And this is indeed displaying in 1080p, as you can see there, so that is good, and it's recognizing my monitor correctly as well. So what I want to do is make sure that I know exactly what the specs are, so we should be able to see that in here. So we have Windows 7 Home Premium Service Pack 1, and down here are some of the specifications. I believe it's just going to say exactly the same things as it said in the BIOS, but it's always good just to check. So it says processor Intel Pentium D CPU running at 2.8 GHz, we knew that, and installed RAM 1 GB, and this is a 32-bit operating system, and I don't think there's going to be anything else to see in there. Yeah, you must activate today, activate Windows now. How about no? I don't think it will ever lock us out for not doing it, so might as well just ignore it. And our Windows rating is 3.7. I've never had a Windows 7 computer that managed to get more than a 1 on that, so that is pretty cool to see. And having two windows open, this is still pretty responsive. This seems like a perfectly usable computer. I don't think there's much on here in terms of software, but it's still running pretty decently. Let's take a look. Yeah, most of that just seems to be default stuff. We've got the Epic Games Launcher on here. I wouldn't suggest playing any games on here. Firefox, Chrome, just standard stuff. And also Roblox. Not sure Roblox would run particularly well on here. I'm guessing it has been played at some point, but probably not very well. And let's check out my favourite thing in Windows 7. Let's see if this plays. I haven't got any speakers plugged in, so we won't get any sound. However, we should still be able to give this a go. And there we are. I managed to successfully make a cake. That'll do, but that ran pretty well, and there are things in the recycle bin. They can stay in there. I don't really care about them. Now, local disk, it was correct with what it said on the hard drive. This is about a 160GB drive. 116GB is usable. Let's see if the optical drive will open. No, it still won't open, so I do think it is a bit jammed. I can hear it. Oh no, it's opened now. It's probably just not been used for so long that it's got a bit crusty inside, but it seemed to open just fine then. I'm not going to risk putting a disc into it because I don't want it to eat any of my discs. Documents, anything on here? Nope. Music, just sample music, banging tunes those. Pictures, probably can't show these. Yeah, can't show any of the photos for what should be obvious reasons. There's like 6,000 of them, none of which are appropriate to show. I honestly don't think there's anything else to see on here. It's a pretty basic install with not much going on, but it is a really responsive computer. Like, look how quickly computer opened then. Considering this has only got 1 gig of RAM, it's running actually really, really well. I'm actually very, very impressed with this. Like, this is not slow. I like this machine. And the hard drive's not too loud either. I can of course hear it when doing things, but it's not bad. I expected this to be an absolute sluggish wreck, but it's really, really responsive. This is really cool. So that is pretty much where I'm going to leave it for today. This computer is a lot more functional than I thought it would be, and it does actually seem like it could be a very usable computer for basic tasks. Now, I had a discussion with the owner yesterday about this and what they want to do, and we're thinking about putting some more RAM in it and an SSD and seeing if it can run Windows 10. I think extra RAM is definitely going to be helpful. I've actually pilfered some out of another computer which might work in this, so we might be able to get 4 gigs in this if it can support 4 gigs, because I'm not actually sure. But this is all things that we can look at in the future. So more RAM and also an SSD. Now, because of the SATA interface on this, it's not going to be fast, but I'm sure that it will be better than the hard drive that's in here now. This is a 16-year-old hard drive. It'll probably die soon, so having an SSD probably will make it a little bit quicker. It'll make it quieter, and I believe that it'll make it more reliable as well. So SSD and RAM, that should be fun, and also potentially Windows 10 if it can handle it. So that's all things that we can look at in the future. I've not been given the go-ahead to do those things yet. Hopefully I will be able to do those in the near future, but for now this machine will just stay like this until the final decision has been made. So that's now where I'm going to leave it for today. Thank you very much for watching. Hopefully this was interesting in some way. I found this really interesting to see how responsive and functional this 16-year-old computer is. Like, I'm actually really impressed. So I am very happy that I've made this video just to see, but this thing is still a pretty decent machine. Really responsive. Like, I'm actually shocked by how well it was just running. So I think with the right upgrades, this can still be a decent computer for basic tasks for a good few years. Like, stick a copy of Word on here or something, and I don't think you can go wrong. I think it'll run perfectly fine. So that is something that we can hopefully look at in the future. So thank you again for watching this video, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.